Fabo?
We'll have to come
Fabulous.
up
That's what we say.
All right, so we're gonna do our rating here on Kilikanoon.
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 I
2000.
was going to say I'm going to kill a canoe. But
A killer canoe?
it's a killer canoe.
2007 Shiraz, 100% Shiraz, out of Australia. And we're going to... Here we are again.
So, Chris, tell me.
Hold on. I'm Keith.
Oh, and I'm Brian.
I'm Chris.
And this is DenverWineGuy.com. The famous intro.
No, I was going to ask you, what's the... I don't see it anywhere on the label, and as I understand it by law, you have to have the alcohol content on the label.
14.5%, and it's hidden cleverly in the back part of the label.
So it's
on the very bottom, yeah.
And I'm sorry, you said 14?
14.5%, and that is what he strives for, to get his balance, to keep the acidity and keep the length, and ultimately some aging potential for these wines as well.
Now, see, I like that, where the alcohol isn't... When they hit that... God, I remember when Australia really hit the market hard and hit our country hard, and it seemed like the alcohol content was like 15.8 and 16.5. It seemed like it was really, really high.
Well, it's easy to ripen. I mean, it's unabashedly, they'll tell you it's an extremely warm climate. It's an easy place to grow grapes. It's an easy place to get high sugars, and conversely, turning those into high alcohol as well. It's a true test of a great winemaker to rein that in and have a balance in the wine, and actually give yourself some restraint. So yeah, this easily could have been 16% if that's the style of wine that you wanted.
But, well, kudos for not wanting that style.
Well, no. Why would you say that, Keith? Because I've had plenty of wine that's in those.
Oh, there's a
those
wine
levels.
for every palate. That's just not the style he wants to go for. Yeah.
My style is the little of that 14 range. You know, I love Shiraz, and I just when it gets really, really jammy. I think we've talked about that. I don't really care for the big jammy style wines. My palate, and you know, everybody's different.
Which is what Robert Parker does like.
Exactly.
And I find that there's time and place for every wine.
Yeah,
but
I agree with that.
I think we're going to need to get a set of boxing gloves here, so we can put them out here on
one
the
of those
table.
little guys where you.
I like that even better.
Rock'em Sock'em robots. Yeah. You can put the head of the wine bottle on each one. Whoever explodes the wine at first has to shut up for
We
5
can
minutes.
put Keith on one, his name on one, and mine on the other.
Right. And then our host, we can include them.
Right,
Battle
Roy
Royal.
the ring
Chris
judge.
Rowe, right in the
Cage
center.
match. So anyhow, what do we think? Go ahead.
And don't just say that because I'm here. I mean, seriously.
Right. We're
I didn't
serious.
make the wine.
Well, now, do we want to divulge right now to our viewers what the retail price of this bottle?
Oh, let's give well, yeah, we can. Sure.
Before we rate it?
Sure.
Okay. So I guess typically you will find this bottle anywhere from 19 to 22 bucks.
Right around there, yeah. 19 to 22, depending on the store you're at.
So $19.99 probably in most cases.
All right.
I would think.
And we're going to do a 100-point system, or are we doing 5 glasses?
Oh no, 100 points.
100 points.
Yeah, we're back. We're to the 100-point system. I think that's pretty much that's
what everyone's used to seeing.
Right,
or
exactly.
How they're used to rating wines.
Yep.
I like this wine. I really do. Okay, so how come I got to go first? I'll go first.
I can go first.
Let's see. We're talking $20.
You like the structure on it? You like the fruit?
It's a big opulent wine, but like I said, it's got layers, and that's
Right.
the other thing I like about this wine. Where the Australians typically, or what I've seen historically, is that you almost get 1 to 2 layers, and it's just big fruit, boom, in your face.
Right.
You know, it's just this fruit bomb.
And that's it.
Yeah, that's it. And there's more going on in this bottle, which is why I really like it. So I'm gonna give it. I'm gonna say 90 points.
90 points.
I'm gonna give it 90.
Yeah.
Okay.
Chris is going to have to tell his opinion on that.
I don't rate my own wines, however, I will share what other people have said about that.
Gotcha.
Yes, yeah. Brian, 90 points. I get that one right now.
15 seconds ago. And should I rate it?
Give it to us.
I like the overall wine. I think it has good length. I like the finish. I like the fruit. Again, it's one of those wines, and it's a good structure. I like the elegance of it because it has some of that. It's not too over the top. I'd say 91 points.
91.
Yeah, I'd say 91.
Wow.
Thank you. Well, you're both in agreement with Parker, who's given this a 90 point for this vintage, and at least a 90 for the previous 4 vintages. So it's a pretty consistent wine for him, made in a very consistent style, where you'll always get subtle nuances from year to year, but it'll always be reminiscent of what you had last year.
Which is important for you to know, because wine is an organic item. I mean, from year to year, you're always going to find wine changing because of the harvest, the vintage, the weather patterns. And for a wine like this, as Chris is saying, to be consistent year after year, when you're grabbing a bottle off the shelf, if you're looking for this in a store, it's nice to know that you don't have to necessarily be focused on the vintage. It's hey, this is a bottle that consistently is going to produce for me. We're going to be happy with.
Yeah, that's the philosophy for any good winemaker, is that they know what they're given every single vintage. They strive out to make their style of wine, and every vintage will give them the particulars of what that harvest gives them.
Right.
But at the same time, they try to make it a similar style every year. So if you're used to this style of Shiraz, every year you'll know it will be within that parameters of what you've had in the past. I mean, the main goal for what you get when you go, if you drink Grey Goose, if you drink Absolute, if you like that style of vodka, every time you get it, it's going to be consistent. That is the ultimate goal of a winemaker. That much harder because it's dealt with on a year-to-year basis.
All vintages are the same, so he tries to be as consistent as possible with his vintages. So, go ahead.
I was going to say easier to accomplish in New World wines, more so than Old World wines, because the weather conditions change.
That's true, but that's also an excuse for extremely poor winemaking.
Well, I mean, if you look at Germany,
depends on where you're at.
Burgundy,
we are blessed. We are blessed with better weather patterns.
And if you look at the Rinkler system, which is the weather system that they use in rating and scoring, climate throughout certainly in the United States is what they use in the Rinkler system. You'll find that in California, it's very consistent, and Australia is very much that way. In that there's
for the most part, but we have our share of terrible vintages as well. I mean, 2007 being the last one, we're at the very beginning of the season, which was our November. Someplace in your valley in southern Australia lost up to 30 to 40% of their crop from frost, and an incredible difference at the very end of it, where the production was down, but the structure was incredibly complex because you concentrated those vines from losing the initial crop at the beginning of the harvest. And then harvest like last year in 2008, where it was 106 for 16 days straight. And essentially everything that wasn't harvested before that got tossed out at the end of the vintage because it was overly ripe and just couldn't be used for wine. So we actually deal with extremes in a lot of the geographic regions. And a part that most people don't understand is that Australia is larger than continental U.S. There are more regions and varying regions within Australia than anything in America. And there are more varied wines from coast to coast than you'll see from anything in America. So our general rule and what we try to educate people on is to not take Australia as one growing region. There are 65 individual climates, each one with its own nuances. And you may be similar from year to year from each region, but you're not going to grow the same grapes, and that wine is not going to taste the same from each of those regions. As when we get to the next one, you'll see it's a completely different wine from what we have today.
All right.
And for now,
I was going to say we're getting really close. We got about a minute.
Yeah, I want to talk about the website.
Okay.
It's oldbridgecellars.com, and Chris was telling us before we started that you can go to the website and obviously search the name Kilikanoon.
Or you can actually just type your zip code in,
okay,
and it'll tell you all the wines in our portfolio available within a 20-mile radius of your zip code. All the wines we represent.
Gotta love that.
Excellent. Yeah.
And I'm sure it's kept up,
Every
updated.
month it's updated.
Okay, every month it's updated. So there you go. Type in your zip code at oldbridgecellars.com and look for the wines. A solid 91 points.
90 points.
100 points.
There you go. $19.99 on the shelf typically. And thanks for watching. I'm Keith.
I'm Brian.
Chris. Cheers.
DenverWineGuy.com. Thanks for watching. Try that next one.
That was.